right, welcome to Wet Your Palate. Today we're here at Petco Park, and we've got a very special guest.
Mark Loretta is here with us. Dude, he's with the Padres, man, right now.
Yeah.
Like, he did 15 seasons in Major League Baseball, okay? Anywhere from the Brewers to the Red Sox.
You make it seem like a sentence of did 15 years of hard time.
So we just wrapped up our national sales meeting. We got to sit down with Mark here, and we went through a number of things, everything from the military support that you guys do at the
Yes.
Padres, recruitment, what you guys do for training. I mean, there was a lot of good stuff that we were talking about.
So much appreciate your partnership, too. It's been a win-win for everybody, and I know the fans love having your wine here.
We are glad they love it.
Good.
And got a good thing going. We'll keep it moving.
Absolutely.
Let's like jump into, colorful
What happened to
language
your
is good.
voice, Chris? What
Well,
did you go out last night?
yeah, my boss took me out, which means, that's usually a fun night when you're singing Moon Dance with about 100 people on a piano battling stage, and they told you no, but then you're up there singing.
Who did that? I don't know.
That's you, dude.
No, that wasn't me.
We got video.
They-
This is going
they
to be
let-
awesome. See,
they
we like
let
to do this
us.
in post-production.
Yeah.
Mark.
Yeah.
Play the video, please, of Joe doing Moon Dance.
We did get the whole crowd going. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
a good time. But for not having anything to drink last night, you, not me, you sound like crap.
Thank you. Okay. I think it's a good time to introduce Mark. Can we go with that, Joe? Come on. What are we
Well,
doing
hey, I
here?
woke
What
up
are we
this morning and I looked in the mirror and I had this red thing on my nose and I'm like, I have no idea what happened. I asked my wife.
Yeah, that was the first one.
And I remember everything from last night, but
Did you slide head first somewhere?
not to my recollection.
We got
No.
a guy who just cut up his nose sliding in, scoring a run the other day, Tyler Wade.
And really cut it up.
He cut it up pretty well, yeah.
Yeah,
But-
I bet. All right. Well, shall we do the intro?
Yeah,
Do it.
hit it.
Okay.
All right. Welcome to Go With Your Palate.
I'll help
you
out
just
with
do it? Like,
Welcome
oh my
to
gosh,
Go
why
With
did-
Your Palate.
We're gonna have to
We-
love that.
All right, there's going to be voiceover
where
for me.
we
I think,
where
Mark,
we
so-
talk about wine, entrepreneurship, and whatever the fuck else. Today we are here at Petco Park down in San Diego, the home of the Padres, and we've got Mark Loretta as our special guest. Well, we're the special guests here, I guess, right? Welcome.
Thank you. Good to be with you guys.
Yeah, thank
Yeah,
you for
Sorry
having
about the
us,
voice.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'll get through it. It was worth it, though.
The old Irish flu,
Yeah.
I see you. All right. Nice.
Yeah, so if anybody's coming down to San Diego, I would highly recommend the Dueling Piano Bar Shout. It is a blast, a lot of talent as far as like up on stage. You guys, well, I don't need to talk about the talent that's in this town. There's a lot of talent in this
Yeah,
town.
there is. Yeah.
In all ways. But it was a ton of fun, and we had the whole crew there, and we turned it into a nightclub is what it felt like. So, good time. Highly recommend
Yeah.
it.
Really, thank you for having us here at the Padres Stadium. Start out like we do. We kind of like to get a little snapshot of what you're up to right now. I think my voice is actually annoying me as I keep talking, so maybe I'll let you take over here for here,
Yeah,
Mark.
well, thanks for having me, guys. That's awesome. I'm a special assistant for the Padres now, so to your point, I retired from baseball after 2009 season. That was actually with the Dodgers. I don't really publicize that now, even though I grew up in LA, but, Dodgers aren't real popular down here in San Diego, so.
I've noticed.
Yeah, you've noticed.
There's some passion behind it.
Some passion.
And it's
some passion.
reciprocated in LA.
Absolutely, absolutely. But it's a nice rivalry, especially now that we've kind of gotten good. LA, we're a serious threat to them, which is great. And so to your point, I played 15 years. I played with the Padres for 3 years. I was here in 2004, 5, and 6. Played with the Brewers, Astros, Red Sox, and then the Dodgers as well. So made my home now. Once we came to San Diego, we were living in Phoenix, my wife and I, and we're like, okay, this is a pretty good spot. Let's set up shop here. And our son was only 3 months old, I think, when we signed with the Padres, something like that. And so now he's 22. Daughter's 19, so we've raised 2 kids here, and this is home. Love it.
Yeah, I love it. And I think we talked about this too, that a 3-year career that you were highlighted as a utility player, which I thought was very interesting, which means you've played almost every position in baseball?
I tried to shake that label my whole career,
Okay.
Yeah, what do you identify as?
really. Well,
Yeah, and excuse me, I didn't want to assume.
my pronouns are him and he. And
Let me just correct myself. I didn't want to assume that you're a utility
I'd
player.
like to be a them. That'd be multiple. That'd be
That
awesome.
would be everything.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I guess I was a them as a utility guy. I played a lot of different positions early in my career, and then I kind of settled in as a second baseman. I was the starting second baseman when I played here. And it turns out the assistant GM for the Padres looked up a stat, and I'm the only player in Major League history to play 200 games at every infield position.
Really?
Which solidifies my utility label, unfortunately.
That's actually a great claim to fame.
Well,
yeah.
Not really, but
I think you gotta own that. But
Yeah.
I will also say I think second base is the most demanding position. Well,
shortstop's probably a little tougher,
Shortstop
to be honest
and
with you.
second,
But second, yeah, there's a lot of action. A lot
Yeah.
of action. And when I played, not to be like back in the day, but I mean, the guys coming in to break up a double play, they were trying to kill you. I mean, I broke my leg one time. Now, like they've sissied down the rules. Can I say that?
yeah, you can.
Oh,
yeah,
we're
of
going to
course.
get into that too.
And
yeah.
and
They've
now
sissied
you
down
can't
the
hit the
rules on
guy. You
everything.
can slide. Yeah, it's like now it's pretty easy. But
So you broke your leg in a game.
I did. Yep. You know what? And it was an off-season ending injury, the worst kind.
Oh,
Happened
man.
2 days before the end of the year. Both teams. I was with the Brewers. We were playing the Rockies. We're both 20 games out of first place, and we had a September call-up at third base, meaning a young player who kind of, didn't make a great feed to second, and the guy came in, Wagner, I'll never forget him. He was actually a pretty good guy, but that day he wasn't. Slid through me, breaks my leg. I had to spend the entire offseason rehabbing, couldn't play golf, couldn't do anything. The offseason ending injury is not a good one.
Yeah, that is not fun.
Yeah, so.
All right, so of all the teams, I gotta ask, what was your favorite team to play for?
From a baseball perspective,
Yeah, I mean like the
or
team
the whole-
itself, not the
Yeah.
management or anything. I don't want to get you in any hot water here, but
I like your shirt. I was going to say, I love your shirt.
Yeah. I get a paycheck from the Padres, so I appreciate that. But, I had fun kind of at every stop. I would say from a pure baseball perspective, playing for the Red Sox was unbelievable. I went there, I was traded there from San Diego, actually, and I was, 33, 34, so I'd been in the league almost 10 years. And, being a utility guy and playing in kind of smaller markets, I was never really recognized much. I would, maybe once or twice a year, hey, Mark, what's going on? In Boston, every day, everywhere I went. The dry cleaner, the coffee shop. Hey, Mark, what's going on, Mark? What the fuck's going on with the Big Papi, Mark? It was shocking. Farmer knows. I mean, he worked there. It's like being in the Beatles. Their love of baseball goes back generations. It's been passed on from grandfather to grandson to grandmother. I mean, everybody is just so into it. We'd come home from West Coast road trip and literally get in at like 3 a.m. from Anaheim or something, and there would be hundreds of people at the airport just waiting to say, "Hey, how you guys doing?" We're like, "Hey, see you tomorrow." It was incredible, and we a lot of big stars there. With Manny Ramirez and David Ortiz, Kurt Schilling, Jason Varitek. We had a great team. We didn't make the playoffs, unfortunately, the year I was there. They'd won the World Series 2 years before, and they won it the year after, so that probably tells you something. But, that was awesome. I really had fun in Houston. I mean, I don't know, not to belittle Houston. I don't love the city as a city. Not a lot of water and mountains and stuff.
Yeah.
I hope you're not from Houston. But the great franchise, good group of guys. Like I played with Jeff Bagwell and Craig Biggio, Brad Ausmus, guys that I really connected with. We had a blast there. So.
I bet. Well, I bet it's a very tight group once you're in it.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, it's a nice fraternity.
So I'd love to hear about that. Like what is it like being in the club, regardless of what team you're with?
Yeah.
Just the camaraderie, the drama. Like, I mean, what is it like? You're traveling with these guys.
Oh yeah.
I mean, how many days out of the year? Like,
So we play 162 games in 180 days. So yeah, that's how many days off. 18 for 6 months. I mean, plus you got spring training, which is another 6 weeks. But the old saying is you spend a lot more time with your teammates than you do your own family during the year. And it's true. I mean, you're here. Guys will get here, for a 7 o'clock game at 1 o'clock, and you leave. You might have a beer or two after. You leave at midnight, so you're here a long time. But it's awesome because you can't hide in a clubhouse. I mean, we shower together for God's sakes, you know. So you're not hiding anything.
Yeah.
And just the banter, you know. And we always say, hey, if you're not getting ragged on, or if I'm not ragging on, that means I don't like you. You rag on the guys you like, you know. And so
That's what Joe says to me all the time.
yeah.
I mean, that's just guy
You're not
code.
making fun of somebody, you know. Then, you know, it's
I
just
get
banter.
weird if he's being nice to me. I'm
Exactly.
like, yeah.
So you know, and that's when people say, "Hey, do you miss playing?" I do. I miss the competition some and whatever. There's nothing like being in a batter's box facing the pitcher like it's one-on-one, mano-a-mano. But the camaraderie and just the locker room and stuff, I probably miss the most because you can't replace that. You're not going to replace that on the golf course or anything, and just living and dying foxhole mentality. You know,
I bet it's a blast.
So, I mean, yeah, you mentioned, okay, so, I mean, we know that things have gotten a little softer, right?
Sensitive?
Yes, thank you. Sensitive,
Yeah.
more snowflakes falling. But I was wondering, and, you know, back in the day, it was a little bit harder, and you're going to these different teams. Was there any kind of, like, hazing that you kind of went through being the new guy coming from another team, or?
yeah, there was much more. It was more rookie hazing, like first coming up,
okay.
a lot more of like the rookies. You know, they would dress us up on the road occasionally. Like we would be on the road, and it would be a getaway day, and all of a sudden we'd come back in, and your street clothes were gone, and replaced was like a Hooters outfit, or you know, some kind of a Halloween outfit or something. And one time in my rookie year, we were in New York. We landed in New York from somewhere, and we were dressed up like. I was dressed up as a convict. It was just a bunch of different stuff. And on our way to the Grand Hyatt, Grand Central Station in New York, they said, hey, pull the bus over. And they dropped us off 6 blocks from the hotel. So about 5 or 6 of us get out in the middle of Manhattan, and we're going around. And
You're all dressed like
dressed like
convicts.
clowns, convicts, and it was just a bunch of different, there was a cheerleader and a convict and you know, all this stuff. And so
Well, nowadays,
when we got
you
back
can
at
find
it,
that just walking around anywhere.
so we knew they would all be waiting for us in the lobby and, you know, laugh and all that stuff when we got there. So we're like, screw that. So we ended up going to a bar, having a couple of belts, walking back to the hotel, finding another entrance, never showed up. And like the older guys and the traveling secretary and the coach are like, oh my God, they got mugged or they're dead or something like that. So they sent out a search party. So we sort of got the last laugh there. But yeah, that kind of stuff happened. The veterans were much harder on the younger guys. You know, back then, even though I feel like I'm one generation, you know, ahead of these guys that are here now. But there's still some of that. You'll see like bullpen guys will carry out, a lot of times they'll carry out the gum and the seeds for the bullpen guys, and they'll have some kind of foofy backpack or something. You know, there's little shenanigans that go on.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's all in fun.
Well, good. We try to do the same thing in our company.
Good.
You know, hazing
Good,
the
good.
rookies, having a little bit of fun,
Yeah, of
but
course.
not going too far. You know?
Yeah.
Nowadays.
Yeah, HR, you know, it's a different animal these days, I bet.
Yeah, well, I mean, sometimes we can
You guys have
actually...
an HR department?
No comment. For one reason or another, I've already been on the phone with him a few times
Okay.
today. Yeah.
Hopefully you outsource that.
I would think that would bring you closer together as a team, knowing that you kind of went through that hardness and kind of earned your place, I guess, there with the other guys, going through that thing. And it makes you tough out there because I'm sure that the teams that you play, those other guys out there aren't going to go easy on you.
Absolutely. And I think baseball is unique in that way because there's the minor league system. When players are drafted either out of high school or college, they don't go straight here. Typically, I mean, it's very rare that a player would go straight to the major league. So, you know, most teams have 5 minor league teams underneath their big league team. So we have, you know, a team in the Dominican Republic, excuse me, a team in Arizona, you know, a high A team in Lake Elsinore, and then we have a double A team in San Antonio, a triple A team in El Paso. So you've got to move through the ranks doing that, and it's not real glamorous. I mean, you're playing in fields that aren't great. You're traveling on buses. You know, my first monthly salary when I signed, $850 a month, and that was for 5 months out of the year. So it was tough to make ends meet on that. So guys have to go through a lot to get here, and I think that makes it for a better bonding experience when they do get here.
Yeah.
Because everybody's been through that and they understand how tough it is to get here. Not only is it tough to get here, it's extremely hard to stay. If you think about even guys who play in
of the
college.
5 teams underneath the major league.
Yeah, it's under
the farm
1%
teams.
of,
So yeah, under 1%
of players who actually play college or play or play
Yeah.
professional ball that actually make it to the major leagues and have a sustained career.
What do you think about the kind of like offshoots that are coming up right now? So, and I'd say we'd thank social media for bringing these up, like the Savannah Bananas. Is there ever somebody from that type of franchise that is able to move into the actual major league system?
Generally, it goes the other direction. It's more of those guys, for whatever reason, didn't make it in the major leagues or in professional baseball, and they're very good players, and they maybe come back to the Savannah Bananas. I don't think anybody's going to pick. Maybe I'm wrong. Playing for the Savannah Bananas over the San Diego Padres.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No.
Yeah, I don't think they pay probably as well.
Hopefully,
Probably don't travel as well either, I would guess. But they probably have as much fun as anybody, I'll tell you what. But
Yeah.
I like it. It's cool. It's good for baseball. I think they're
Hopefully it brings more viewers into baseball, right? I mean, that's so. Maybe the younger generation. We have a struggle with the younger generation getting them into wine as it is right now. And I think that anything that your parents or grandparents loved, you kind of buck that, right, in your 20s.
Right.
And I think that, some of like the long-standing sports and traditions we have in the U.S. have suffered through that as well. And so it's kind of like, how do you get that next generation into it and be as passionate? Even West Coast versus East Coast, right? You've got like Boston, where you were talking about the culture of baseball, the people behind it, and how they're so appreciative of that being part of the culture and the community. And then here on the West Coast, it's a little more laissez-faire.
Right.
It's like football in the South too, right? Versus USC. It's like you don't have tailgates in California like they do there.
No, you don't. You don't. Yeah.
But yeah, I would see that as a good way to incubate a new demographic to get into watching baseball.
Absolutely, and we touched on it before we started taping. What Major League Baseball has done with the rules, I think, has been really successful. They've instituted a pitch clock, so the games on average are about 25 to 30 minutes less, shorter. They've also done some things on the bases where you can only pick over a few times. Excuse me, but I think you got to keep innovating, right? Because things change, and you don't want to change the real fabric and the basics of the game, but I think you can also always tweak it and enhance it a little bit. And all the sports are doing it. Football's done it with the kickoffs, things like that. Basketball, I don't know what they're doing, but maybe raise the rim or lower it. I don't know. But you've got to innovate. And to your point, the younger generation, that the attention span seems to be a little bit less, or it's or they're more distracted or whatever. So baseball being a pastime, a game that doesn't have a clock, we've struggled with kind of getting that new generation on board as well.
So I appreciate that about baseball, of not really having a clock, right?
Yeah.
It can go on for indefinitely. I do agree with you. I think that this younger generation is so accustomed to quick events and entertainment.
Yes,
and so
the
getting them to sit
gratification.
down, watch a game for 2 hours, 3 hours, it's like they just don't get it.
Right.
But I think once you reach a level of maturity, hopefully you start to appreciate that.
Yeah. What age do you think that is?
Oh man, I think for men,
Yeah.
I'm going to go like late 20s, early 30s. I think women, it's already wired. They like to just they have patience.
Yeah. What's great about baseball too is there are games every day, right? So you can follow it. You can have a conversation with a parent, with a friend. There's always something to talk about in baseball. It's always on. Football, you got that once a week deal, and that's great too. But baseball is just part of life.
Well, I also think that it's a wholesome game. That's one of the things I love about it. You don't really ever see headlines of people with bad behavior. I don't think
There's some.
but I think they get moved out. That I don't think they stick around all that much. And there are a few, but you get the headlines with just about every other major sport. Baseball still has, I'd say, the most wholesome reputation.
I think so. Yeah, sort of the American apple pie, sort of America's pastime. I think
Yeah.
you're right.
All right, so you retired and you got into wine.
Kind of, yeah, I did. I guess I've always liked wine. My dad was a big Merlot drinker. That was his cocktail of choice. He drank Merlot his whole life. So that's just an aside. But when we retired, it was 2009, 2010, and it was just coming out of the global financial crisis. And we found there was a guy that we knew, an acquaintance who had a lot in Rancho Santa Fe, about 30 miles north here of San Diego, that he really needed to get rid of. And we hadn't really thought about building our dream home. That was never on our radar, but this was sort of an opportunity that was too good to be true. So we bought the land, we ended up building a house on it, and we were looking at our landscape, and I always thought it might be fun to, plant an orchard or vineyard or something like that, just for fun. And so we integrated it as kind of our front entrance. We said, okay, let's put 200 Merlot vines in there and just see what happens. More as just kind of a nice look as you drive in, et cetera. We found a winemaker that a guy named Duncan Williams who worked up in Temecula and Fallbrook, and he installed it for us. But again, it was sort of an afterthought. And we were sitting around one day with my mom, and she goes, "Oh yeah, tell me about this vineyard or this vines you're going to plant." Yeah, well, it's more of a architectural feature. It'll be nice when you drive in. Whether it makes wine, I don't know. Who knows? We'll see. And she goes, "Boy, you really have low expectations on this project." And my nickname is Low. It's shortened for Loretta. So I've been called Low, ever since I've been in pro ball. And so ding, ding, ding. I'm like, there's the name of the line, Low Expectations. So that's what came out of that. We planted Merlot in honor of my dad. And did you taste it? Is it drinkable?
It is. It's good. And this is 2018 or that's 2020?
That's 2020. Our first bottling was of only our own stuff was 2016. And then we've gone through 2022. So yeah.
Well, you explained the name because that was one of my questions. So Low Expectations, spelled L-O.
Love the name.
Yeah, it is.
Awesome. Yeah.
I mean, there's only one way to go.
Yeah.
Well, and that's as you look at the label, that's kind of the idea of these. So I put a bunch of graphs on here, sort of that are trending up. So we're hoping that your expectations rise, and then as we just kind of incorporate a bunch of stuff that in our family, like for example, my daughter plays guitar, so we showed a guitar that was being built.
Okay.
My son's an amateur pilot. He got his pilot's license at 17, so there's a plane on there. We have Ridgeback dogs. They're on there.
Just gonna
just kind of a family sort of a cool thing, and then with the graph idea of, getting better as we go.
That's awesome.
We hope
is
we
fun.
exceed your expectations.
No, you have actually. I think that's great, and I think that you and Joe have a lot in common because he's with his wine too. He's like really involved in the labeling, the whole packaging.
Well, it's
right?
everything
And
it's about the story,
telling
right?
the story.
How do you
this really what you're going through? Really.
So now your family's going to carry these bottles forward and open them up 10, 20, 30 years down the road and look at it and go, God damn, Dad had a vision and I loved it.
Yeah. No, I don't know how well the Merlot will age and mature, but we'll find out.
It's got good acid. I think.
And it's funny because Duncan Williams, the winemaker, as we're getting into it a couple years, and people are like, yeah, this is pretty good for homemade. It's not really homemade wine. I mean, he makes it. He goes, and Duncan was kind of put off. Like, what do you think I am? Some kind of an idiot? I don't know how to make wine. So. A good buddy who also lives in Rancho Santa Fe. It's become kind of popular to have these home vineyards. He bored out kind of a cave in his backyard, so he's got a wine press and a bunch of barrels and stuff. So he lets us make it there, which is pretty cool. Yeah.
That is cool.
Yeah,
like he actually built a cave.
Yeah.
Well,
we're not selling this as only home consumption, so it's kind of like Prohibition era stuff.
Yeah, you're still able to do, even through Prohibition, you were able to produce a certain volume of wine per person per household, which I always found fascinating.
Speaking of Prohibition, I think that's fascinating. Like from 1920 to 1933, like booze was illegal in this country. It's nuts.
Well, it ruined a lot of things.
Yeah.
I mean, it was. And they just passed legislation to allow you to distill a certain amount of spirits at home, which was unheard of. Which I get that, right? You're making wine or you're making beer. You should be able to make a certain amount at your house without having to go through all the rigmarole of what the government wants you to do all they want you to do is pay taxes on it.
That's right.
So with distilling, because we got into distilling as well, but there is an element of safety where you can blow things up pretty easily.
That's true.
And so I was thinking about that. I'm like, well, we'll see where this goes.
Right.
Bunch of home distillers, garage fires, who knows? They may pull that regulation back.
Yeah, exactly. The moonshiners have done it for years. So.
Yeah. Just do it outside. You'll be fine.
Have you gone into that area, like distilling? Have you guys?
We started doing it.
Yeah.
Got back in like 2014, I believe. No, 2013. So just released actually in California. Only in California. We're going to expand that into a couple other markets here.
Right.
Bourbon rye, single malts, and apple brandy, and then we're working on a gin and vodka.
Oh, cool.
But tiny production.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's it's
For
fun.
only your own consumption, or are you gonna?
No, we're putting it. Yeah, we're putting it in the market. Yeah. So it's
cool.
we'll see where it goes, but had our fair share of it on this trip. Got it down here in San Diego.
Good. I'd love to try it.
We changed our distributor here in California, and Breakthrough is our distributor now, and they've done a great job down here. So
Great.
just spreading it out.
It's interesting how I think wine has gotten popular again over the last couple decades, and then cocktails became so huge, and now of course the canned cocktails and the spirits and all that stuff. We've got a little connection in the cocktail world. So my wife's brother opened up a bar in New York called Death and Company.
Okay.
And it's a little
great name.
speakeasy. It's a play on Prohibition. If you're drinking during Prohibition, you're hanging out with Death and Company.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's the #1 cocktail bar in the United States. I mean, it was at one time. He's written books. His name's David Kaplan. Like, we go, if you mention his name, like really a cocktail place, we're like, David Kaplan? Oh yeah, he's my brother-in-law. Like, oh my God, he's like a legend. Much like you are in Napa, I'm sure.
Oh, that's awesome.
Not you so much.
So he's still
I'm kind of used to that. You already know.
and he's still out there.
Yeah. Well, he lives now in Seattle, but they've opened up. There's a Death and Company in Denver. He's done a lot of. He mostly consults now and opens up different bars and stuff. So, if you're in New York, you got to check it out.
So I may have been to the one in Denver.
Okay.
It's kind of a secret.
It's in the hotel. It's in a hotel right downtown, but it's pretty well known.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the cocktail culture has definitely come a long way. And,
Absolutely.
And I think, again, going back to that younger generation, they just want something in a can and, something single serve. And it's like, let's get you guys cultured. How do we get them into, actually learning how to craft something themselves?
I feel like there is a segment of like that. I feel like if you look at coffee, for example, like I've been to some coffee shops where younger people take it so seriously. They're measuring it, they're putting on scales, things like that. So there is a segment of that, I'm sure, in the wine space for the younger people, of course.
The barista culture,
The barista culture.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we say now. Do you guys like pumpkin spice lattes?
Not a fan.
Okay, that was a test.
So I will say I went to, I was in Seattle, I don't know, a month ago, and I had a few hours on my hands. I had to go up there just to get the new passport. Pain in the ass. But I'm up there, and so they have this thing. Starbucks has this like reserve experience, and that's their home, right, Seattle. But you go in there, and it's like you can try the same coffee, the beans, treated the same way, ground the same way, and everything, in 3 different methodologies of brewing, and you really get to learn more about it.
It's cool.
And I still like just the purity of like simple, old school drip coffee. But
I agree. It's me too. I do like a little cream, but
yeah,
I'll get there black eventually.
yeah,
That's what I had today.
Yeah.
It still didn't help my voice or
yeah.
help my
You
consciousness.
should go
Yeah.
with tea. Tea helps, I think.
Tea? Like, what kind of tea? Green tea?
Like some,
Okay.
chamomile.
Chamomile? I do like
Smooth
a good
move tea.
I do like a good London fog. You know what I mean? The Earl
Yeah.
Grey with a little
Yeah, there
bit
you
of
go.
cream on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
It's probably that's a whole nother thing. Tea is probably very specialized too.
So we grew up in a more traditional world. I think we could say that.
Yeah, for sure.
At least you and I. I don't know about Chris.
Oh my
But,
gosh! Why?
So I think back to the kind of wholesomeness of baseball and the styles that went along with it. And over the last 5, maybe even 10 years, you started seeing a lot of the players start to have like douchey haircuts like Chris has over here with this. What do you call that? The modern mullet? Is that what that is?
The haircut you give all your kids. That's
It's
you
a
give
little
them
bit
the
of
same
soccer feel
haircut,
to it
dude.
too. Yeah. Are you a soccer player?
No, I'm not good at soccer.
Are you a
okay?
soccer player? You may have just offended him.
Okay. I wasn't
I
good.
love soccer, but
Yeah, I mean, I can
You look
kick
the
it
part.
far. Okay, I was a wrestler. I mean,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
all right.
Yeah, I mean, I wrestled 103. That was like the lowest
Wow.
weight. Yeah, pounds. Yeah.
I got to watch it. It
That's
was
high school?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I had to wrestle a lot
You got
of
to watch
girls.
it? Were you guys high school?
Yeah, we went to high school together, and he was a late bloomer as far as puberty and growing.
Physicality, yeah. 103,
And-
that's pretty small.
So he also had, being in 103, he also had the privilege of wrestling girls on a very regular basis.
You were ahead of the gender
It
thing
was- I mean, it was-
back then. Huh?
Yeah, they would send me in, and also like when you're in that state, so you could be 103, and if they had someone that was 125, and say that was a woman that you didn't have a 125 wrestler, then they would be like, oh, just send Chris in, you
Wow.
know. So and if it was a 150, then yeah, send Chris in. So yeah, I mean
That
it
must
was.
have been interesting, especially to your point, after puberty, hitting puberty, wrestling.
Yeah, you were fighting a lot of different things going on.
But it's
You're like,
Yeah.
I'm wrestling by him.
It's one of the few sports where like you have this delicate balance where you don't want to lose because your friends are all going to make fun of you,
Right.
Yeah.
and then you don't want to win because you don't want to hurt a woman.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And if the girl's cute, maybe, you know,
Yeah.
who knows, right?
Yeah, and that's
I don't know how much that was a factor, but.
well, you're wearing a singlet, so not much to hide
Yeah,
there,
exactly,
you know.
exactly.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was the most awkward situation. But
So, well, on that note, do you think that there will ever be a time when a woman is in MLB?
Great question.
Is this really the end? Unbelievable. Find out next week.